Thank you for joining us for our webinar, Rethink ERP, Why Dynamics AX Should Be on Your Shortlist. I'm Dee Bowers and I'll be your moderator. So before we jump in, I'm going to briefly go over how to use the webinar pane. So on the right side of your monitor, you should see an orange arrow. If you click that arrow, you'll be able to toggle the pane between the open and closed position. You should also see a small chat window. Feel free to enter your questions in throughout the presentation. We'll go ahead and answer those at the end of the webinar during our Q&A session as time allows. So let's also hop over to audio settings. You can just double check that you have the correct option selected. So if you've called in on your telephone, please make sure you have the use telephone option selected. And if you're dialed in on your computer, please make sure you have the use mic and speakers option. So one other thing to note is our webinar is being recorded today, and we'll be sending out a link to the slide deck and recording within 48 hours. So if you're interested in taking a look at this again, just keep an eye on your email. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce today's presenters. From Armanino, we have consulting partner Chris Moore, who leads our Dynamics AX practice. We also have Todd Dambley, who's our Dynamics AX solution representative. And from Microsoft, we have Chuck Yunke, a business solutions consultant with over 250 ERP implementations under his belt. So thank you guys for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Todd.
Okay, thank you, Dee, and hello everyone. Thanks for attending our session today. Welcome. Again, my name is Todd Dambley with Armanino. So agenda-wise, I'll start out by giving you a little background on our firm, along with some introductory information on Dynamics AX, primarily intended for those of you on the call that are new to AX or maybe contemplating an ERP evaluation. And then Chuck with Microsoft here with me will provide a brief overview of the application and also demonstrate a few of the key features that are coming out in AX 2012, Release 3, slated for general availability this May. Is that right, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then we will open up the session for some Q&A. Okay, so the basics. Armanino is headquartered in Northern California with 5 regional offices that you can see here. We're a rapidly growing organization with over 500 employees now and roughly 120 million in revenues. On the IT and consulting side of our business, Armanino is a gold certified sales and implementation partner for Microsoft. We specialize in helping our clients to deploy Dynamics AX, GP, CRM, SharePoint, and Office 365. We're also a value-added reseller for adaptive planning budgeting, now called Adaptive Insights, along with ClickView Business Intelligence. And of course, we offer the full complement of implementation, training, and support services that go along with these applications. So in addition to being Microsoft's largest Dynamics partner on the West Coast, we also happen to be the largest California-based tax and audit firm. So if by chance you have any interest in the additional services you see here, please contact me and I can put you in touch with the appropriate practice area partner in our firm. Okay, so first off, it's important to know that Microsoft continues to develop, market, and sell 4 excellent ERP solutions that you see here. AX happens to be the flagship ERP system that is the most robust from a functionality standpoint and is also the most technologically advanced and scalable solution of the 4. And we most often see our clients evaluating and selecting AX over Oracle, SAP, and some of the other larger competitors that are out there. I'd like to make a very important point here, and that is Microsoft is aggressively making all of their products available on their cloud computing platform, which is called Azure. However, it is their officially stated direction that they will always offer customers the option for a premise-based deployment as well. So a quick short story. I recently attended Microsoft Convergence in Atlanta, and for those of you that don't know, this is the annual user conference for Microsoft Dynamics customers. I happened to take this picture at the keynote session, and the first thing you'll notice is that I have a terrible seat. I'm almost in the rafters, and that's because there were more people at this conference than I've seen there in the last 10 years, and this is really due in large part to the significant increase in the number of companies that are using Dynamics AX which is north of 20,000 organizations worldwide now. So I took Delta Airlines to get out there, long flight, decided to get one of those box meals with a turkey sandwich. The flight attendant delivers the food, took my credit card, swiped it on. What I learned was a Windows phone. My card was processed using Microsoft's payment gateway with the resulting transaction ultimately landing in Dynamics AX. And of course, the flight attendants also use these devices for email, personal communications, etc. But honestly, it was just really interesting to listen to Teresa Weiss, the CIO of Delta, and hear how they've been able to truly transform their business using Dynamics AX combined with Microsoft Mobility and other Microsoft services. So this story is really the backdrop, honestly, for what Microsoft is turning itself into, or I should say transforming itself into, and that is a devices and services company, not just a software company any longer. And this example is a perfect illustration of how Microsoft is leveraging its $10 billion R&D budget, bringing all of their technologies together to provide productivity enhancements to the entire organization and truly enhancing the experiences that companies are able to create for their customers. So lots of other marquee companies on here, in addition to Delta, that are using Dynamics AX. The world's largest furniture manufacturer, Ashley Furniture, world's largest dental supply company, Dentsply, the nation's largest stem cell bank that I worked with recently, CBR, along with one of the fastest growing high-tech companies in Silicon Valley, Virtual Instruments. Also, IP-based phone provider ShoreTel that competes with Cisco, and Accuray, a state-of-the-art medical device manufacturer in Sunnyvale. All great companies with awesome people, and I really enjoyed working with all these folks during their ERP selection process. But you don't need to be the largest, you don't need to be the fastest growing to be a candidate to take advantage of the benefits of Dynamics AX. I would say the average size AX customer has revenues in the $50 million to $700 million range and is typically stepping up from an older legacy system or upgrading from a smaller, less scalable ERP solution. Business drivers or pain points that we typically see behind these evaluation efforts might include lots of different systems with folks trying to constantly stitch these applications together. It could be the development of manual processes and workarounds to meet business needs. For public companies, it might be the lack of system controls, reporting, visibility into information in general, or they might just not have the tools to get the information and analyze the information the way that they'd like to see it. For companies that are growing or acquiring companies, it could be the lack of system flexibility or scalability to accommodate growth, maybe strong competition from larger players in the market. And lastly, it could just simply be companies that are looking to reduce their IT footprint and their overall total cost of ownership. Why are companies buying Dynamics AX? Probably the most unique feature of AX in the marketplace is its ability to connect with other Microsoft applications to truly make it an enterprise solution rather than the usual siloed ERP system that I'll say just sort of sits in the basement. Many of our clients are using AX in conjunction with Office 365, MS CRM that competes with Salesforce.com for Salesforce automation and customer support. They might be using Lync for corporate collaboration and instant messaging. And of course, all these things are running on top of and highly leveraging the underlying Microsoft technology stack. So last data points here, and then we'll move on to the R3 update with Chuck. AX actually has quite a long history. And even though it is a modern technology from a programmatic standpoint, it is certainly not new and unproven. AX was originally known as Exapta, which was a joint development effort between IBM and a Danish company called Damgard in 1998. So that would be version 1. Microsoft acquired the product in 2002 and renamed it to Dynamics AX with release 5, also known as AX 2009. And investments in Dynamics AX are significant. There are over 2,500 individuals working on the application at Microsoft, and it's a key component to their strategy going forward. So that brings us to Dynamics AX 2012 Release 3, our main topic today. Lots of functionality in the application, as you might imagine. We're obviously not going to cover it all. We're actually not even going to cover a fraction of it. But I wanted to put this slide up and leave it up as a backdrop for everyone to just sort of marinate on the functionality of AX while Chuck gets ready to take over here. One last thing I will mention is that if you would like an on-site demonstration of AX piloted with some sample data from your company, that is certainly something that we can entertain and discuss with you. So Chuck, I'll hand it over to you for the R3 overview and demo.
Great, thanks Todd. So there's quite a bit in AXR3, and so what I thought I would do is just give you some of the highlights of that. So we're going to start off with just a quick tour of AX 2012, and then we're going to go into warehouse and transportation management, just a couple of the highlights there. Look at some new demand forecasting capabilities in R3, and a brand new product called Lifecycle Services, which helps not only during the implementation phase, but also throughout your entire life cycle, implementation, steady state, and then upgrade and maintenance of the application. And then also talk about the new mobile companion apps, as Todd mentioned with our device and service strategy, giving you AX applications that you can use in a touch format, and certainly use mobile, so it's any touch, anywhere. So let's start off with just that overview of Dynamics AX. So Dynamics AX 2012, if those of you haven't seen it, you'll notice there's some simple navigation here. Left-hand navigation looks very much like Outlook. So if you're familiar with Outlook, you've got your modules on the left, you've got a favorite section up here. You can also navigate through the top. So AX is a multi-company, multi-site, multi-currency and reporting application. So you can have as many companies or legal entities as you'd like in one AX instance and do your consolidations into a consolidation company. And up from this Internet Explorer type breadcrumb bar here, you can also see the different modules. So most of the modules that you would expect in a robust ERP package for supply chain, accounting, fixed assets, but also some things that maybe aren't in every ERP system with travel and expense, compliance and audit controls, and some new capabilities in R3 for like a catalog call center, trade and allowance management, as well as a data import-export framework. So Dynamics AX, you could navigate either from the breadcrumb bar here or from the left-hand navigation. So if I wanted to go into sales and marketing, I could click there and you'll see this area page, which is my menu structure. By the way, this is all guided by our security model. So if you don't have security for some of these forms or capabilities, you wouldn't see them either in your menu structure or on the form itself if you didn't have access, let's say, to certain fields. So what we're looking at now is a very common theme. The first place where you would search for and find, in this case, a customer master, is what we call the list page. You've got an Excel-like list here, and then as you change your focus on a different customer, you'll see that down below we have our preview pane. Over to the right we have what we call our fact boxes. So if I wanted to look at a record and wanted to see, gosh, what was the latest activity here? When did I send them the last invoice? When did they pay me? And also under related information, the goal here is to try to put as much information at your fingertips as possible without getting too cluttered and an unworkable form. So I can hover over items like quotations or invoices or customer sales orders, or if I just wanted to click on that hyperlink, then you'll see that I go to the open sales orders only for that customer forest wholesalers. Now, another element you'll see of our user interface is what we call the action pane, or if you're using any of the Office products, you'd know that as the ribbon that goes across the top. So when we look at the action pane for sales orders, I've got all of the standard information. By the way, on every preview pane or action pane, you can export data to Excel. I've got sales information. And if I wanted to, on an open order here, I could pick, pack, and ship all from this list page without having to go to the detailed form. Now, if I want to go to the detailed form, I can see here, this is a sales order. I've got a header view, a line view, and again, that same action pane or ribbon that's available across the top. Again, I can navigate back to from where I came, back at the Customer Master here, and so forth. So very easy to train new users. One of the reasons AX is very popular with growing companies is as you acquire new companies, it's very easy to spin up a new acquisition, a new division on this software. People tend to get it pretty easily. So if I go back to my form here, and maybe I wanted to do some quick searches. If I said I want to have everybody with the name Contoso, I could just do a quick search here. Or if I wanted to perhaps search by another field that isn't visible, I can always go back to my pane here and pick out a field in the Customer Master. So if I come down here and say, yeah, I'd like to see the customer group as a column on this form, I can search through customer groups. I can do wildcard searches and so forth. If I hover over customer group 30, there's my retail customers. I can do a right click and then just filter out my retail customers, save that filter, or save this as a queue, and I'll just call this my top customers, and save this for myself or everyone in the organization. And on this, then, I could save this for a specific role or a specific function within the company, or, as I say, just save it for myself. Here are the, we have over 45 role centers, and we've got security roles for everyone as well. So here are some of those security roles, and they can map to functionality in the system for the roles and, as I mentioned, security centers here. So if I saved that view, and now what we're doing is we're looking at the role center. Here's the role center for Inga, and we've got several different areas, but let me draw your attention here to the activities area. And on this, these are the areas where I want to go to on a daily basis. So you might notice that I just created a queue or an activity queue for those retail customers or my top customers. Once I refresh my page, what you'll see is that that new queue is available on my role center as AX is working toward really trying to get predictive. If a user just went and created a new queue, why not automatically add that to their action pane or their role center? Okay? So as I mentioned before, AX has 45 out-of-the-box role centers. We'll spend most of our time here on Sarah's page. But here's another role center, and again, you've got some of these common components, the key performance indicators, business indicators over here. We've got all of the different business intelligence tools that are available from Microsoft, like Performance Point over here. We've got some other graphics that might have links so that you can have what we call actionable intelligence. So if I'm looking at my sales and opportunity queue, I can just click on that graphic and it'll take me to my opportunities form. Now, coming back to the CFO role page, one of the prominent things that you'll see is that AX has business indicators built into the system here. We do this out of 20 out-of-the-box OLAP cubes, or online analytical processing. These are SQL analysis services cubes. And what we do is, on a periodic basis, we'll take the data out of the transactional database, put it into a multi-dimensional data warehouse, and then we can do business metrics pre-built off of that. So we have 20 out-of-the-box cubes that contain over 200 pre-built business metrics. So in that, here are some of those key performance indicators, and I might have some questions about those indicators. Here's my EBITDA, and that has an indicator status here that we're not doing too well. We're doing better in our inventory turns to our goal, but EBITDA isn't looking very good. You might notice there's a hyperlink there. I can click on that and get to my actionable intelligence, which here I get to the form where I can look at something that might be hanging me up. Over here, if I see my days of sales outstanding, might not be where I want it to be, I click here, and now I'm at my collections workbench. So again, actionable intelligence throughout the system, and this is in our theme of what we call self-service business intelligence. So you can go in and modify these to your heart's content. Now, on this, what I may want to do then is, if I saw that the EBITDA wasn't very good, you might notice I have an owner of that business metric, which happens to be Ken. This is integrated with Microsoft Link, and that's our online communication. So I can see Ken is the owner of that metric, and I see green in his indicator, which tells me that Ken is online here. So if I wanted to send Ken an IM, I could just see, oh, okay, Ken, hey, what's up with EBITDA? Or just what's up? And I could now be communicating directly with Ken. If I go over to his session here, then he can tell me that nothing is up. And this works very well within a distributed growing environment. So if you have people across the country and across the world, you can get instant access to them using those standard tools that you may want to use within the Microsoft suite and that Microsoft platform that Todd was showing you earlier. So one of the other areas within AX 2012 is what we call ERP for everyone, or our employee service portal. So this is a self-service capability for your employees to go in there and maintain maybe their own personnel information in our human resources module, change their personal address and course and training certifications and the like. Or maybe they want to do expense management. So you can have your credit cards feed directly into AX, where somebody could come in and grab a credit card receipts and modify that, and then send that in through the appropriate routing through workflow control, and then once approved by the appropriate people in looking at basic company policies of time limit or value limits on things, then you can have that approved, and then it would just go right into accounts payable. If we're looking at maybe people wanting to do some self-service purchase requisitions, AX has various catalogs where I can go in and specify, let's say for my IT group, hey, these are the types of computers or keyboards or monitors that I'm able to have here. And we've got a very nice, friendly, Amazon-like user interface. I can add it to my cart. And then when I'm done, what you'll see here is that the workflow control will pop up and let me know that I'm in here for, I'm on the record here for wanting a keyboard. This yellow banner lets everybody know that this has to be approved by someone. We also have in our employee self-service portal here the ability to punch out to an external catalog. In this case, this might be my Zones catalog. Zones is a customer of ours, and so if I wanted to go in and get a new monitor, then I could do so through this process, add it to my cart, and then when I add this, this will then come back to AX, And when I check out of zones, I haven't made a financial commitment. This just comes back and tells me that I've got this on my purchase rec. We can now go through and add the appropriate items through a workflow control. So that's the employee self-service portal. I can do my approvals through there as well. Now, the grand theme for AX 2012 was powerful, simple, and agile. And one of the areas that I think illustrates all three of those very well is what we call our organizational hierarchies. So I can have model my organization, and maybe a very common way is to do that through my legal entity structure. So here are all the different legal entities that come into the Contoso group here, and I can set up this organizational hierarchy which would control my corporate consolidations. But I can also use this hierarchy for other needs. Like in this case, I just want to set up the business divisional hierarchies in the system. And we have a nice graphic format here. Here's my retail, my U.S. retail here. And I'm now organized into East, West, and Central region operations. And this organizational structure can be modified very quickly and easily. So if I wanted to look at this and say, you know what, I've got Ann Arbor currently, my Ann Arbor store is reporting to the Central region. I really want to have that move to the East region. I can do that easily through, I just do a right click, I do a cut, and I come over to the receiving region and I do a paste. And now you'll see that that Ann Arbor company is now structured in my East region hierarchy. Now, this may just look like a pretty human resources hierarchy, but there's so much behind the scenes in AX that was controlled by this. We've got workflow. The security can be dedicated through these organizational hierarchies. Lots of business logic is controlled through these hierarchies, and I just reorganized my firm in the matter of about a minute, and I can make this organizational hierarchy available, let's say here on May 1st, and when I publish this, this will now have that hierarchy available, and I can see how it looks today, and I can see how it looks in the future, and be able to come back and look at this, how it looks today, as I mentioned, or on an effective date in the future. So my workflows will be routed in one direction on April 30th, in a different way on May 1st. So again, powerful, simple, and agile is the way that we've designed Dynamics AX to try and give more to customers in an easy-to-use, intuitive format. Okay, so that's a quick tour through our role centers and the like. Let's move on to some of our new capabilities in warehouse and transportation management. And within WMS and TMS, lots and lots of new capabilities. One of the areas that's very important to people is in the area of put-away rules and picking rules. Those are controlled through location directives, and I'll give you a quick example of that. And based upon those directives, we can generate either system-generated picking and put-away or self-directed picking and put-away, which use these work templates and work rules. All of the devices for your radio frequency support are HTML-based RF devices, which can run on anything that can run Internet Explorer. We've got a new reservation engine, so we give more power to efficient warehouse operations rather than the customer service folks telling people how to pick product. We can evenly divide that between customer service and warehouse operations. We have wave planning for all of the outbound operations, shipping, production, and lean manufacturing. So it's not just purchasing and shipments, but it's all inventory operations, production operations, and supports lean manufacturing. Transportation management, load building, rate rate and route planning and rate shopping. I'll give a quick example of that. And then once you've got those things planned, we can have appointment scheduling, driver check-in, check-out, dock management, and most importantly is freight reconciliation, so I can do a matching process and approval process for all my freight bills. So in warehouse management, some significant enhancements in our location definitions. You can have location definitions that are very simple, might just be an area on the floor or a zone that you can designate here for staging, or you can have very deep defined areas in terms of a location, aisle, row, bin, rack, shelf, and these are all user defined, so you can have these any way you'd like. So let's just give a quick example of the location directives, or those picking and put away rules. So within the location directives here, again, as I mentioned, this is applicable not just for sales and purchase orders, but all of your inventory transactions, Kanban processing for lean manufacturing, as well as raw material and production batch order picking and put away here, which also supports process manufacturing, FIFO type of picking rules, and so forth. So let's go into how do we want to put away purchase orders. So you can have many different rules. In this case, just looking at our directive for Warehouse 61, you can have the, how do I want to put this away? Well, it may depend on the quantity on that purchase order. So in this example here, if I've got a quantity on the PO that I'm receiving that's less than 100, then AX is going to want to put that away in my picking zone. If it's over 100, then what that means is that now I'm into full pallet quantities typically, so I'm going to want to put that away in my bulk order zone here. And all of this can be defined. Those of you that are familiar with AX 2012, we've got the capability to have an advanced filter or an advanced query tool. And in this case, what I'm saying is, hey, I want only those items that are in buyer group number 10 to be to use this particular rule. If it's in another buyer group, it might go to a completely different rule here that might want to go in, let's say, and consolidate to any less than full pallets, or again, if it can't consolidate into less than full quantities, then it goes into a bulk location. So anyway, these are some of those different rules. And using this edit query function, you can make these very, very flexible. Now, I mentioned transportation management as well. And in transportation management, we have the ability to build loads. So this just came right off of a sales order. And so here's my load. I could mix from existing loads. I could add to an existing load. I could create new loads here. But once I have a load, what I may want to do is, based upon this order, I'll then go in and go to my rate route workbench. So in this case, it's saying, great, I'm going to go from Tacoma, Washington to Los Angeles, and then I want to do some rate shopping. So let's see who of my carriers will go to this location, and it gives me the different carriers and their cost for this. If I just wanted to circumvent this and get the lowest rate for either myself or my customer, I just click on the rate button there, and it's going to find the cheapest alternative and then fill that in. I can assign this load, and then I'll go ahead and actually schedule this for the dock and load this on the truck when the driver arrives. So that's my rate and route shopping. We use multi-modes and multiple segments using hubs to help facilitate a lot of that processing. So that was warehouse management. Now what I'd like to do is move into our next area, which is some new demand forecasting capabilities in AX. Now, AX has always had the ability to either define or to load your forecast into AX. But now what we've got is the ability to go in and look at your demand history. And from the demand history, we can go in and export your desired amount of data for a historic range. And what we do with that is we take that information and we drop that into one of those 20 out-of-the-box AX cubes that is in SQL Server Analysis Services, and display that in an Excel spreadsheet. Now, as we take it in there, you can apply various rules for SQL Server time series rules and the like, which will go in and smooth that information and predict a forecast for you. And from that forecast, then displayed in an Excel spreadsheet, you'll see an example of shortly, you're free to go in there and modify that forecast. When you're happy with your forecast, you push another button and you'll publish that forecast back into AX, and then you can run your material planning systems through that. And last but not least, have the ability to measure your planned versus actual performance, and then those are stored in a cube so that you can do pre-built analytics and various analysis of that forecasting. But we are in the era of big data now, and one of the things that you'll see shortly is the ability for SQL Server and Excel to take internal data from AX and merge that with external data from the web, and we've got a little example of that. So if we go back into AX, we'll look at in the demand forecasting here. So we'll just go into master planning, and I'll show you the menu. These were those steps I talked about before, generating the baseline forecast. We input that forecast and then take the planned versus actual to measure forecast accuracy. So if I look at a sample spreadsheet like that, we'll have our forecast. By the way, you can forecast by product family. So if I wanted to come in and say, okay, I want to change the forecast on this particular item for July to be 440, maybe I even want to come into a month and change the forecast, not individually, but at the product family level. I can do that, and then AX will take my demand and spread that according to the items that are within that product family. So here I say 800 is comprised of 2 individual items and so forth. So I would take this, I would dump that back into AX, and then from here I can get my forecast accuracy. So it'll show the historical demand quantity, show me the SQL Server recommended quantity, and shows me what that forecast error is. And then, of course, now you can use all the wonders of Excel to not just display that historical information here, but now to merge that information through some of those great enhancements. Todd mentioned that there's a lot of people working on Dynamics AX, but we've also got lots of people working on the other platform products of Microsoft. So if I looked at, maybe I've got a forecasting representation of one of our customers. One of our customers is New Belgium Brewing out of Colorado. And maybe they're looking at their forecast accuracy in the Bay Area here. So we've got forecast accuracy for Silicon Valley. And we're also going to look at how that forecast is working out on the beach communities of Santa Cruz and Monterey. So if I look at this, I could see, hey, my IPA has got a pretty good forecast accuracy. It's green. Pale ale is okay, but might be able to use some help. And if I look at my alcohol-free forecast, boy, this is horrible. So rather than just trying to guess the reasons for this, what we've done is merged this with temperature information over the last couple of years by region, by location, and by temperature readings for the individual day. And now what we can do is do a visualization using some of the Power BI capabilities. In this case, we're going to launch Power Map, and this will give us a representation of that forecast data. Now as I play this, pull your attention up here into the Silicon Valley area, and you'll see the forecast inaccuracy by day. So you see as we get into the summer months, you'll notice that the forecast accuracy in the Silicon Valley is about the same, but boy, if we go down to our beach communities, you can see that that forecast for the alcohol-free version of our beer is really out of whack. And so you can see the temperature map here, as well as inaccuracies in Monterey and Santa Cruz. Now what